Telefaro would lead us in the pledge. God, how we thank you for this day and how we thank you for another opportunity to do the business of the city. We ask that you would touch our hearts, souls, and mind to be acceptable in thy sight. We ask you would lead us and direct us, give us the wisdom to do what you would have us to do. And Lord, at the end of the day, we ask that whatever we do, that you get some glory out of it. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'll face the flag. As we say the pledge, let us be mindful of the sacrifices of our MIAs and POWs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you be kind enough to call the roll?
Councilwoman Taylor.
Present.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilman Telefaro.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Butcher.
Here.
Councilman Jackson.
Here.
Councilman Green.
I'm here.
And Councilwoman Bowles.
Present.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the administrative conference Monday, January 9th, 2023, and the city council meeting Tuesday, January 10th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilman Telefaro and Jackson. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Councilman Telefaro.
I'm waiting for something to pop up here, ma'am. There we go.
You want me to record you at the minutes?
I just punched the 8. Yes.
And that passes with a 7-0. It is registered. Copy that.
Thank you. Does any council member have any awards recognition of distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
Mr. Chair, my person isn't here, but what I would like to reiterate is a prayer vigil on Thursday at the corner of David Rains and Martin Luther King at Apostolic Christ Worship Center, and the Quick Pack, which is the old Tumanellas, at 4:30 p.m. They're asking the community to join them for an hour of prayer on that lot, as we continue to pray for the crime that is happening within our city and the victims of that crime. So we're asking the community to join us for that. Also, there is a meeting with the Lakeside area on Thursday at 5:30 at the Lakeside Recreational Center, Mr. Glass. And I also like to thank Mr. Statlander for your presentation on the adjudicated process. We had a record crowd at the David Rains Center, and thank you so much. And we're actually looking for the next one is that to come up at Lakeside Recreation Center on 31st at 10 a.m. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Any other council member? Mr. Mayor, do you have any awards or recognition of distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any further communication relative to city business to come?
Only the request that I had made to add, if you would consider adding to your agenda a confirmation of a hearing officer for the environmental court.
Yes, sir. All right. Does any member have any questions for Mr. Green from Property Standards? Any questions for Mr. Green? Seeing there's none. Mr. Clark provided a master plan report yesterday. Is there something else to add? I don't see him in the building. Everyone should have or receive the budget, actual financial report on yesterday. Public hearing, there's none. Madam Clerk, will there be any legislation to be added today?
No legislation, but again, the Mayor Arsenault is requesting that we add the appointment of Monique Davis as Environmental Court Officer.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or against adding this item to the agenda? Seeing there's none. Do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
All right.
I
And it
move that
does
we
require
add the item
unanimous.
to the agenda.
I second.
Moved by Councilman Jackson, second by Councilman Butcher, that we add, what's her name?
Monique Davis as
Monique
environmental court
Davis?
officer.
Monique Davis to the agenda. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote. Mine's not working.
I had to reset it.
Okay. And that passes with a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. Today, we will hear public comments on agenda items only. That will be controlled by the vice chair at this particular time.
Sammy Mears.
Sandy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Apartment M110, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. Today I speak on a resolution 9A number 4. I think this is a very great and wonderful idea to accept the public dedication and Ardenwood Street right-of-way in the Ardenwood subdivision. The reason is it seems to have the exact same name as the subdivision, and all the people there who live in that division have been living there for a very long time, I'm sure, and they would be very happy to hear and know that you voted yes on this today. I'm sure they'd appreciate it very much. And also, please put cameras up at the, and grade traffic lights and sensor cameras up at the intersection of Line Avenue and Kings Highway. On January 17th, 2 cars were towed away after a very bad wreck took place when I was there going on the bus. The police department and the fire department got this mess cleaned up, but it was just ridiculous, and the traffic lights there need to be taken down and replaced with arms, upgraded traffic lights and sensor cameras. This would really be appreciated very much.
Thank you, Sam. John Glover.
Good evening. John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, Apartment 217, Shreveport, 71118. Yesterday, I sat in the administrative conference, heard nothing discussed in here except when it was for the appeals. Now, you all added a piece of legislation to this agenda today. And though I heard him, the mayor, ask that this be done, that information was not available whereby I could see what was truly going on. Number 2, my number 1 reason for coming was to encourage you all not to support Resolution 7. There are 1, 2, 3 new members on this board, well, council. And I cannot believe that the work has been so tremendous since December the 31st that you need additional help. Now we understand there are 5 people in the council department. Of those 5 people, I can't understand why what you're asking or even proposing cannot be addressed by those persons. It makes little to no sense to have or to even ask for a new position, one that the fact sheet said will be paid $115,000 a year for them to be the go-between me and my representative. Makes no sense. Again, I want to urge you all, those of you who were re-elected, you went out and you told your constituents, we will be here to answer any and all of your concerns. But if I have to go through a go-between, and I use the word go-between very lightly, then that means something's going on here, something that you're not telling. See, the work can't be so substantial now, all of a sudden, you need a director of council affairs. I wish someone would just tell us what is really going on, because this is a part-time, you're here 4 times a month. And though you may be doing work outside of those 4 times, what else are you doing? I mean, I read this agenda, and I read every agenda, and I look at the information accompanying each one of these agenda items, and I don't see where it is that you need to have a liaison. Now, that's my position. Don't know if you've been reached out by any other constituent, but that's my position. And my position I will stand by. Thank you.
Kenny Gordon.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Kenny Gordon. I live at 630 Hendricks Place, Freeport, Louisiana, 71106. I disagree with the young lady that just spoke before me. I believe that Proposition 7 should be passed. However, that one person will not be able to solve the problems that this city needs, because there are 7 districts here, and that person can't be at every place at one time to handle the problems that exist in that district. What I like to propose or speak on is, I was told by Mr. Bradford how the workings of the council is, and that this is a part-time position. Being a part-time position, you can't come out to a problem when that problem exists, because you have a job or you have businesses that you have to run. I understand that, because I had the same thing in Texas. I'm from Houston, Texas. And the workings here are different than Texas. In Texas, the city councilmen, they're full-time. When I call, they need to come out, they do. They don't have a liaison that comes out. So what I'd like to propose is that you go and go back and talk with each other and find out what can be done as far as the budget is concerned to elevate you from part-time to full-time, so that you can in turn come out and do the things that need to be done. If that can't be done, then you need more than one director to come out and see what needs to be done and then report to you individually. Dr. Jackson needs one. Councilman Butcher needs one. Telefero, all of you need one to go out to those areas, see what the problem is, let them tell you what the problem is, and then you do that. Or elevate yourselves to full-time. And I know that means more money, because right now you're not making very much. You have to have those jobs to maintain yourselves. But if you elevate yourself to a full-time position, which means that the money is going to have to be elevated too, then I think that the city would be served better if you did that, as opposed to getting one person that's going to try and manage 7 districts. I don't think it's going to work. It's just going to be a position that's created, one position that's created, and it's not going to serve anything.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you.
Craig Lee.
Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect Street. I had an opportunity to see the work session yesterday, and it's not often that I agree with Joan Glover. She made some compelling remarks, and Mayor, this is, I guess, your first entree into our new debate on assistants and liaisons. We had a very robust discussion this morning at Tuesday morning breakfast about this with former Councilman Willie Bradford. And this is not new legislation. This is actually something that had been proposed, and there was a liaison position before. And the whole concept is that each person, city council person, needs a staff, at least one person to work with. And I call Councilman Telefero to a state representative. State representatives have legislative aides. They have legislative assistants. So do congressmen, so do senators. So I understand where we're going with this, but I do agree with my good colleague Kenny Gordon. One individual is not going to be able to handle this. I'm in favor of adding support for the council. What I would like for you guys to do is to table this, and there's a recommendation that I have that you increase the outlay from 115,000 to 140,000, but not for one position, but for 7 positions, which would be now a part-time position that would be filled by either retirees or students from Susla, LSU, or Centenary who are interested in politics, governmental politics, where they would then field calls and also be able to go and handle certain things on behalf of the city council. But I would not recommend just one person because that would be very taxing for all 7 council entities. So that is my recommendation on this particular measure. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no executive appointments to consider today.
We do have the
We do?
environmental court. We can do that at this time, but you'll
We
first
do
need
this.
to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
I move that we suspend the rules in lieu of this was not on the agenda for 2 weeks to be added and us to go ahead and confirm this person today.
Has been motioned by Councilman Jackson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Brooks. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
to answer Ms. Glover's question, I'd like for the mayor to tell us exactly, or Mr. Dark to tell us exactly why we're doing this and the urgency of it, where everybody understands.
Is that all right with you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
There are hearings scheduled before the Environmental Court on January the 31st. And when I got that schedule, I realized that we didn't have any hearing officers to conduct those hearings. Ms. Davis is a city prosecutor, was recommended for this position by the city attorney so that we could have those hearings on January 31st. I am working on a permanent solution. I don't expect Ms. Davis to serve for a very long time. I'm working on a solution to bring the ordinance provides for the mayor to make 2 appointments, and I intend to do that shortly, but I didn't want to delay any hearings of the environmental court. So that's why I got with Ms. Tucker. She recommended Ms. Davis. Ms. Davis is not able to be here today because she has COVID, so you have her resume, but that's the reason that she is not present for you to ask her questions today. But I would appreciate your confirming this appointment so that we can have those hearings on January 31st. There's another set of hearings that's set for February 16th, and I hope by the time we get back, get to the March hearings, that I'll have a permanent solution to recommend to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions or concerns?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, there was a question that came up. Is this person prepared to be in court Tuesday? Are they ready to conduct that business on Tuesday?
She is, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Assuming recovery, but yes, sir.
All right. Nothing else, let's vote.
This is just the system.
That passed with a 7-0 vote.
Thank you.
And then now you can make a motion to confirm if you so choose.
I move that we confirm this position as well.
I second.
Has been moved by Councilman Jackson, second by Councilman Butcher, that Ms. Davis would be confirmed. Are there any questions or comments at this time? If not, let's vote.
That passed with a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you proceed with regular agenda legislation?
Resolution 166 of 2021, a resolution in support of and establishing a tax increment financing district, a proposed public improvement district wholly within the city limits of the city of Shreveport, and this was previously postponed until March 28th, 2023. Resolution 2, authorizing the mayor to execute a right-of-way and easement agreement for the construction of an oil and gas pipeline within Silver Hill, Haynesville, ENP LLC.
So move.
Moved by Councilman Jackson,
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Passes with 7.
Resolution 4, accepting the public dedication of Ardenwood Street rights-of-way in Ardenwood subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Jackson, second by Councilman Butcher. Are there questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
That passes with 7.
Resolution 5, suspending the effect of certain provisions of Chapter 10 and any applicable provisions of the Shreveport Unified Development Code of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to the crew of Centaur and crew of Gemini parades.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Talaferro. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Did you second?
Staring right at me.
That passes with 7.
Resolution 6, suspending the effects of certain provisions of Chapter 50 relative to the operation of vehicles on property located adjacent to the Red River.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Butcher.
Second.
Second by Councilman Brooks. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Who's second? That passes with 7.
Resolution 7, to create the position of Director of Council Affairs.
So moved by the chair.
Second.
Mr. Chair.
Second by Councilman
Discussion.
Jackson. Question or comments? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair. So I hear what everybody's saying, and I knew what this paid when I became elected. What I didn't know 4 years ago was a lot of what y'all don't see behind the scenes. I've been asked over and over again by people that have wanted this position in the past, how much time do you spend doing this job? It's a part-time job. Some weeks it's 30 hours a week. Some weeks it could be up to 40 hours a week with researching, taking care of people's trash cans, taking care of potholes. The premise of having somebody, I agree very much with you. I just don't think that we're in a position to have full-time council people. But the premise of having somebody to help, getting the things taken care of is not the issue. It's the follow-through that's the issues and the calls that you get, because I don't have time to follow up on 10 people needing a trash can in a week. I just don't. I've got a business that I run, and luckily I own my own business, not like some up here that have to work for people. I do have a little bit of flexibility. There are times that in my job that if there's a pothole in Cedar Grove, then I may run and look at that pothole and then call Public Works. So the premise of having this is not a bad idea. My concern, and Councilman Jackson and I have talked about this, my concern is I want us to plan a little bit better and look and see what we have. We have 5 employees in the clerk's office. I want us to take a little bit of time, not rush into it, and look and see if there's anything that these employees can do. I will tell you this, the first 2 years, I juggled 2 phones, trying to answer and return text. It was a mess. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't getting done that needed to get done. The 3rd year, I hired an answering service out of my pocket, and it ran me anywhere from $50 to $100 a month for that answering service, depending on the number of calls that I got. But I got an email, and it was a little bit easier to manage. In the next year, the last year, I got with the clerk of council and said, look, I want all my calls coming to y'all. I want to know about them. Send me an email. But if it's something that y'all can fix immediately, because I may be in Homer or Haynesville or Spring Hill with no cell phone service. If it's something that needs to be done immediately, get them help. Then send me an email, and then I will follow up. The only problem I have with that is I may get a call 2 weeks later and say, hey, what about my trash can lid? Even though I had asked somebody to do it, I didn't have time to follow up because it wasn't on my radar. And the way that Councilman Jackson explained this position would have a spreadsheet or something where we know what calls have come in, and they'll be able to follow up and give our constituents better service. My issue is, though, I want to see if we can do anything in here. I also would like to take the time, we have an analyst, I would like to get her to look into other cities like Jackson, Mobile, Little Rock, maybe Longview, some other cities to see how they coordinate this together. And can we use it? Also, what do their council members make? What does their staff make? I would like to see all of these things and then have our chairman appoint a committee of council members, maybe a few citizens, maybe some people from the clerk's office, especially the clerk. And let's come together and try to decide what is best, because the system's broke right now and it's only hurting y'all. I mean, it really is. And we know what we were elected to do, but there's only so much in the time to do it. And I don't necessarily think we need full-time council members. So I'm gonna vote to postpone this, and let's look into it and take a deep dive before we jump into a position. I think there's some many things that we can do, and it's time for us. I believe we need to have a charter review committee to look at several different things in the city. But it's going to take all of us coming together to do it. So I don't want, and I commend Councilman Jackson. He came to every one of us and put it out on the table and laid it out for us. This wasn't something that was behind anything. Now, the reason that it probably didn't get out to the public quick enough is because we didn't have enough time, and that's what I'm asking for. So, thank you.
Also, Councilman, we're not gonna have 4 people in the, we're losing one. Tammy's going back to.
I was not aware of that.
She's going back to the city attorney's office as of Friday. So our staff will not be at that level. And if you want to look at a model, you can go to New Orleans. Their councilmen make $80,000 a year. They have, they have assistants to go out and take care of their business, whereas they get the business done. In fact, they don't even have to come to council meeting. They can send their representative to come and to vote for them. So if you want a model, you don't have to go outside of Louisiana. You can come to here. And sometimes people are judgmental because they've never walked in the shoes. And I tell people love what you do. They just hate it's you. They just wish it was somebody else. So we want to do a job to be effective. If we need some help, then we need some help. It's just like, for an instance, the environmental court. The mayor said to us 2 weeks ago, hey, listen, we need somebody to come in right now because we need to get this job done. He could have just been haphazard and said, well, we'll just wait until whatever. But no, we need it done now. And it's easy for you to sit in your seat when you're not doing the job and say what other folk ought to be doing. It's not that we are going to disappear and you can't talk to us. I talk to my constituents every day. In fact, I answer my own calls. I talked to Councilman Talaferro before the meeting, and we were talking about how we handle the business. In fact, I did such a great job talking to my constituents that I didn't even have anybody to run against me. So that just says something as to how I handle my business. We need some help. If you were in this position, you would need some help. But it's simple, it's plain. People love what you do, but they sit on the sideline and hate it's you. Councilman Jackson.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate everybody's comment and feedback. Number one, to my constituent, Ms. Glover, you have a direct access to me. You have my personal phone, you also have my cell phone, you also have my email. So we have a direct contact. We've had lunch, so this position does not mean that you won't have a direct access to me. So let me say that, number one, first and for the record. This is not something new. We already have approved legislation for each council member to have their own assistant. That has already been approved by our previous council. When researching that, I felt like that would have been not fiscally prudent. I felt like that was gonna be entirely too much. This position is designed to be the external leg of council. The 5 people, or now 4, that we have been referencing handle pretty much the internal piece of council. When I talk about the external piece, when there's a water leak, when there's issues in our city, We don't have any communication person that uniformly creates something that we can send out to all of our constituents and say, this is what's going on. We don't have that piece. If you think about the mayor's administration, communications piece, a PR piece, government affairs piece, we don't have any of those collective voices in order to be able to serve us. We have a lot of great things going on in District E, but my constituents are asking for more. They said, what about a Target? What about a Trader Joe's? We need to have somebody that says, look, we're gonna set these meetings up. We're gonna research these companies. We're gonna bring these companies back to you. We're gonna be able to have conversation as to how each district within their master plan can develop what's needed for that particular district. This position will report to all 7 councilpersons, not just the chair. That is extremely critical. That means that every person will be able to call on this highly qualified. I've heard talks about maybe using a student, maybe an intern. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that is highly qualified, that can attend a meeting while the part-time councilman may be at work attending to other business, that can still represent the city at a high level. Bring this information back to us so we can make a decision. When I was campaigning, here was my promise. I'm not just trying to be in this seat. I will be a difference maker. This is my way of trying to make a difference. When we say, what's the rush? If you ask anybody about Shreveport and say, are we moving forward or standing still? And if you say we're standing still, then that is why it's the rush. This is a rush because it's time to move forward. 4 years is not a long time. 4 years is not a long time. So in my first 30 days, I'm saying this position is critical in helping us move it forward. It's critical in helping people who do not have time to attend council meetings and read every single agenda. We need to be able to have a communications piece that put this in layman's terms so the majority of the citizens know exactly what these 7 council men and women are doing on a daily basis in order to move this city forward. It is that crucial for me. It is that crucial for Shreveport. I'm tired of reading blogs and emails about other cities getting things that Shreveport should have. So we're gonna be proactive. We're gonna make a difference, and we're gonna do that starting with voting for this position. I'm asking all my council people, I've met with you one-on-one to support this position. I appreciate you voicing your concerns. I appreciate you being candid with me. I'm always be transparent with you. I believe this position is gonna benefit us all. I believe that the citizens is gonna appreciate this position, and I believe it's the right thing to do. And I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Dart, let the record reflect that we asked for Trader Joe's in District A, not E. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Telfair.
if I may. First, I'd like to applaud Councilman Jackson for reaching out to each and every one of us. Obviously, this shows the passion and compassion that he has for the idea that he has, and I always appreciate someone who is willing to seek other opportunities to increase the efficiency of our service to our employers, which are you. I also appreciate the consideration in reaching out to establish a great dialogue. We had a great conversation on what it means to serve you, our constituents, and again, you, our employers. We agree that there may be some concerns from our constituents which fall outside the realms of creating legislation. Yes, trash cans, potholes. I call them quality of life issues. These are things that you see every day that you expect someone to actually do something about. And oftentimes in the past, it has been very difficult for you to reach a department head to take care of certain things, or someone from a specific department, and we understand that. And so you've had no recourse but to reach out to your city councilman, who you did put in office to be your voice, to be the representative that you chose. So as we discussed in our conversation, I struggle with adding more financial burden to an already inflated personnel budget within this administration, which is yet to be thoroughly vetted and evaluated by our new administration. We all know that we are all about cutting costs, but not cutting services. And this is what this new administration is all about, is that we want to maximize our efforts, but we have to watch the bottom line because it's your tax dollars that we are responsible for. The irony here is that in our first meeting, we, by our silence, chose not to take upon ourselves to entertain a pay raise for ourselves and the mayor. But yet, in this proposal, based on what I've heard, 80,000 to 150, whatever the number is, if you look at that and you take that 80,000 for one person, we could have funded every one of us up here plus the mayor. So I just don't think that's a good financial move. What I'm proposing, I'd like a moratorium, because I have yet to sit down with each one of our esteemed clerks and determine exactly what they can do for us and to absorb some of these tasks that Councilman Jackson feels that is necessary to enhance the quality of life and the services to you. So I would definitely like some more time to do that. If they can, they can. If they can't, they can't. I've had great conversations on just a few items which they said we absolutely can, and it requires no more than reprogramming a certain program, and so it's becoming more, for us to becoming more efficient. Give us a reasonable amount of time to fiscally get back on our feet. This is too new. We need to show you that we can develop a real profit in reserves and services, and we need to do our due diligence to research those proposed tasks deemed necessary for our improved effectiveness, and to determine what duties our existing talented clerks already possess that they would be willing to help us out with. If we determine that the need for a new position is there, we should not overlook the possibility, and I think Mr. Lee kind of touched on it, the opportunity to reach out to those who have retired, that do have that skill set, that can work part-time. And in this modern age of digital, how many people, how many companies do you know who have gotten rid of brick and mortar and they do it from their home? This is another way that we could cut costs, increase services, and give someone a little bit of an income for taking care of our business. I'm not saying that we don't need someone or something to do this position. All I'm saying right now is that we have other concerns to deal with other than adding a new position. I know that some of my council members say that we're not really adding because we're replacing, but in business, just because you have a vacancy doesn't mean that you need to replace that vacancy immediately until you do a thorough evaluation of what your company really needs, and can you get away with not having that position, i.e. many large companies, corporations evaluated their business models and are now employing people to work from home instead of through a brick and mortar foundation. So until we exhaust all those alternatives, I just want the metrics. If you prove to me that the numbers say that based on the calls for service, the volume and so forth, that we need an assistant of some sort, then I'm all ears. But until we actually sit down and give you the numbers or present you the metrics, that's what you deserve, and that's what I'd like to see. So thank you, Mr. President. That was a commission thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The person that's leaving the staff, are we going to replace them and have this additional position?
No, sir.
So we'll still have 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If nothing else, let's vote.
I'd like to, can I make a motion to, a substitute motion to postpone?
Second.
There's a substitute motion to postpone. Madam Clerk?
And again, this postponement is not totally against what Councilman Jackson is doing. I agree that we've got a position to fill, but I think that we can move forward.
Let me get it on the floor.
Sure.
It was a substitute motion by Councilman Butcher, second by Councilman Teleferro. Questions, comments?
I just want to reiterate, this is nothing, I think that this is a good start. We need to look into it. We need to get with the clerk. And anyway, that's why I just think we need a little bit more time.
If nothing else, let's vote on the substitute motion.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. Previous motion. This time we're voting on the previous motion.
The motion passes with 5.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you proceed with introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to February 14, 2023?
Resolution 8, authorizing the execution of a cooperative endeavor agreement with Cooper Road USA. Resolution 9, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Downtown Shreveport Unlimited Incorporated. Resolution 10, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and KLKA Alpha Media. Resolution 11, authorizing the use of certain equipment by the Mount Olive Baptist Church. Resolution 12, authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Theater of the Performing Arts. Resolution 13, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Pinpoint Events LLC. Resolution 14, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and the Red River Revel. Resolution 15, authorizing the execution of a cooperative endeavor agreement with Red River Road Runners Incorporated. Resolution 16, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Rho Omega and Friends Incorporated. And Resolution 17, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Volunteers for Youth Justice.
Are there any questions on either of these items? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Jackson and Brooks. Madam Clerk, would you proceed with introduction of ordinance not to be adopted prior to February 14?
Ordinance 3, amending the 2023 budget for the general fund. Ordinance 4, amending the 2023 Riverfront Development Fund budget. Ordinance 5, to create and establish the intersection of Candler Avenue and Bobbitt Place as a yield intersection. Ordinance 6, to create and establish the intersection of Wesley Avenue and Bobbitt Place as a yield intersection. Ordinance 7, to amend sections 18-201 and 18-202 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to airport zones and regulations for Shreveport Regional Airport. And Ordinance 8, to amend Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances relative to a chief financial officer.
Are there any questions on any of these items? Is there a motion that they be introduced?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Talaferro. Madam Clerk, would you proceed with ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Ordinance 135A, to repeal Ordinance 135 of 2022 and to readopt an ordinance changing the name of Red Fox Circle in the Moore Girls Circle subdivision and section 25 to God's Country, and this was previously postponed until February 14th. Ordinance 1, to revise Chapter 74 Solid Waste, Article 3 Regulations, Section 74-54 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to the disposal fee per ton of normal waste.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Butcher.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion passes with 7.
Okay, Ordinance 2, zoning case number 22-219-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the north side of West 70th Street, approximately 2,850 feet west of Dinkins Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, C4 Heavy Commercial Zoning District to I2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District.
Motion postponed by Councilwoman Bowman, second by Councilwoman Taylor. Are there any questions or comments? not, let's vote.
Motion to postpone passes for 7.
Madam Clerk, is there any table legislation to be removed from the table today?
There is none.
We have no property standards or ABO appeals to consider today. We have no MPC or ZBA appeals to consider. Are there any other appeal, Madam Clerk?
There are no other appeals.
Are there any reports from officers, boards, and committees? Madam Clerk, is there a clerk's report?
Yes. The following letter of appointment was received from the mayor's office on January 12, 2023, and is subject for confirmation on February 14, 2023, and that's April Jordan for city controller.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have any additional communications?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does any member of the council have any additional communications?
Mr. Chair, just want to
Yes.
reiterate the prayer rally on Thursday at 4:30 at the corner of Martin Luther King and David Raines Road, please.
Anyone else? We have no executive sessions today. If there's nothing else to come before this body, we stand adjourned.